All right, everyone, I am so excited. We've got a new installment to the Life After Queening series, and I have the most special guest ever with us today. So today, I have not only the founder of Queens and Jeans herself, but our very own Debra Fox as our Life After Queening interview today. Hey, Debra.
Hey, Chanel, how are you?
Good. How are you? I'm so excited to do this. I'm so glad you finally decided to do my idea and come on for a Life After Queening interview with me.
Well, and everybody needs to know you've been after me for quite some months to do this, and I just kept saying, no, this is about other people, and I don't want it to be about me, but you finally convinced me to do it, so here we are.
Well, good. I am so excited. I was excited pitching this idea to you and to you finally deciding to join me for an interview since you were a queen a few years ago. So most people may not know, but you were Miss Rodeo Kansas in 1980. Is that right?
That is correct, yeah.
Awesome, yeah. So you were a rodeo queen, and you've been there, you've done that. You have a very successful career, which you are the emphasis of what Life After Queening is all about. Having a successful career once queening is over.
Well, I would like to think so. I'm very happy with my success.
Yes. Well, to start off our interview, why don't you talk about your time as a rodeo queen and your life and experiences through your queenship?
Well, I'd be happy to. As you said, I was honored to win the title of Miss Rodeo Kansas in 1980. That was my second year to compete for the title. The first year that I competed, I always tell people I was an absolute hot mess. And say it again.
Weren't we all at one point?
Let me tell you what. And you go back and you look at pictures of back then and you're like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? But my second year when I went back, I was honored to win the title out of 11 contestants and took that title to Miss Rodeo America 6 months later. Mm-hmm. Prior to that win, I had only competed in 2 other pageants. One of them was the Miami County Fair and Rodeo Queen in Miami County, Kansas. Mm-hmm. And I don't even count that one because that was all ticket sales. That was back in the day when all the pageant was all ticket sales. And while I might have been really great at ticket sales, there was nothing else we were judged on. So I don't even count that one. But the next one that I competed in was the Abdallah Shrine Rodeo Queen pageant in the Kansas City area. I got second runner-up that year and went straight to Miss Rodeo Kansas and won that year. So that's pretty much the extent of my queening experience.
Well, it definitely paid off. And now you are a corporate trainer. You were a president of a modeling agency. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do now in your day-to-day life?
Well, right now I am, as you said, a professional corporate trainer and motivational speaker. I travel the country. I have traveled consistently going on my 18th year. I have had the pleasure of doing corporate trainings or motivational speaking in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So it's been a very blessed opportunity for me. And, I've experienced a lot in doing that, but I have been able to share a lot of knowledge and things that I specialize in. And I work with a public seminar company as one of my clients. And then I have other clients that I personally train for. So that's what I do currently.
Yeah, well, you've also had quite a bit of experience in the modeling agency and the modeling world, which a lot of people may not realize, especially since that's something that you bring as a specialty to your workshop. So tell us a little bit about your modeling experience, because it's pretty detailed, isn't it?
Well, it really is. And I like to tell people all the time, in fact, you've been to one of the workshops now and you've heard me say, as I always do, I do not believe that it was my experience as Miss Rodeo Kansas that qualifies me to do workshops or to do Queens and Jeans. I truly believe that it's what I did after Miss Rodeo Kansas that gives me that credential. Mm-hmm. So after my year was up, I went to work for the advertising business. And spent several years as an advertising executive, which was a great opportunity. And during that time, I was one of the co-directors of the Greater Kansas City Junior Miss program. And I was a co-director for several years. And one year, one of our judges was Kim Hoffman, who owned a modeling and talent agency, or a modeling agency in the Kansas City area. And through that relationship, she contacted me and asked me if I would be interested in joining her agency as a director of new faces. And just so you all know, a director of new faces is the person who actually finds and recruits and interviews potential new models to come into the agency. And that's what I did for several years. So it was scanning and recruiting and scouting for people and then interviewing them and getting them involved with the agency. So I did that with her agency for several years. During that time, I started taking modeling classes at the school. And before you know it, I'm a plus size print and runway model. So I actually made a living paid as a plus size print and runway model in the regional market, and did that for several years. After that, I opened my own modeling and talent agency. It was called The Professional Edge. And it had, I was in a very small town, Kirksville, Missouri. I literally opened a modeling agency and talent agency in a city that was a college town and we weren't close to anything. So I was able to open a modeling and talent agency and thrive and be successful in a place that nobody thought that it could happen. And not only that, I became a member of the American Modeling Association. 1 year after I opened my agency, the second year I was nominated and voted by my peers to be the president of the American Modeling Association. And the next year I was voted by my peers again. So I served 2 consecutive terms as the president of the American Modeling Association. My agency also took models and actors and singers and talent every year to the American Modeling and Talent Convention. And for 2 years, we actually won the Group Runway Award among countless other acting and talent and modeling awards. These awards were judged by international and national modeling and talent agents. So these are people that do this every single day of their lives, and our people were winning top honors and top awards, and we won Group Runway a couple of times as well, out of all the hundreds of schools and agencies that came in from across the country. So that was kind of my agency gig.
Yes, well, you are definitely very qualified to teach modeling, and I can say that from personal experience, being able to attend one of your workshops. So your background is phenomenal, and I can tell in person that translates very accordingly to what you're teaching professionally and what you're teaching in your workshops, which is phenomenal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So why did you pick going into the corporate training side as your career profession choice? Like, why was that your decision to go that direction?
It's a really good question. And people ask me that question all the time. How did you get into doing what you do? And it's kind of a short story. I mean, after I was Miss Rodeo Kansas, Teddy Bankus, who was Miss Rodeo Kansas in 1984, and I worked with her to go to that and win that title. And then she went to Miss Rodeo America and she won the speech award. And we teamed up and partnered up and started doing Rodeo Queen workshops. And this is a point that leads me to my career. But since I'm on this point, I'd like to make this point right here. This is the part that I think people do not understand, because quite often, I've heard people say, well, who are you and where did you come from and what makes you qualified to do this? And nobody knows who you are. That's okay. I was doing this before most of you were born. That's why you don't know who I am. And I teamed up with Teddy Bankus, and we started doing Rodeo Queen workshops when nobody was doing workshops. The clinics did not exist. Workshops did not exist. We decided that we wanted to help the 4-state area, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri, because we were tired of those states, having challenges making it into the top 10. And we just didn't have the same committee and state committee support that other states had. So we decided to start doing workshops or clinics. And from that, in a 2-year span, we were fortunate enough to be a part of a journey for 4 girls who went on to win national titles because of working with us. So it was, you know, we kind of paved the way for clinics and workshops, and nobody remembers because these people weren't around back then. Teddy kind of went her way, I went my way, pursued our careers. So I took this kind of huge vacation in the middle. And back in the middle of 2007, I came back and started working again in the rodeo queen world. So there was a gap in the middle, and I think that's why people don't know, you know, where I came from. But because we had been doing those clinics and all of the things we had been doing and the training that I had been doing, everywhere I went, people said, you need to be in the training business. You need to be in the training business. And so I finally contacted a public speaking or public seminar company, and I went in and applied. They turned me down because I didn't have a college degree. And I didn't let that stop me. I went to another public seminar company, and they brought me in because I wanted to do women's empowerment and help women to be the best they could be. I started specializing in women's seminars for them. I was with that seminar company for 10 years. I left that company by my own choice, did not renew my contract, and Skill Path Seminars, who I contract with today, picked me up and asked me if I would join them. So I've been with Skill Path Seminars now for the last 7 years as a top producer. In fact, I get asked every year to be a trainer at their trainers conference. So I'm actually training my peers on being a public speaker and trainer. And that's how it happened.
Well, that's awesome. And I've heard your background, but I know most people don't have that opportunity to get to know you one-on-one and be able to work with you to be able to know these stories and this side of you.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. You know, I try to kind of keep under the radar. I keep a low profile. I mean, I of course do videos and have Queens and Jeans, and I mean, people know who I am, but I don't tend to walk around going, all these stories that we're talking about today, which is kind of why I was hesitant to do this with you. It's not my desire. But I think there are times when you need to toot your horn, and I teach that to professional women every single day. In fact, I taught it today. I am teaching a leadership and management skills for women seminar this week, 4 days. And one of the things I told them today is you have to learn how to brand yourself, and you have to learn how to toot your horn when it's the right time. And apparently tonight is the right time.
Yes. This is your time.
This is my time, right?
Yes. Yes. So I have a very peculiar question that I haven't really asked any of my other interviewees to answer. But you've been doing this long enough, since the 80s actually, and you've kind of been watching trends and how things are changing, and I'm sure you've made some observations about our industry, particularly like the rodeo queen side, and I just kind of wanted to pick your brain on that a little bit to kind of see what you see the trend and just some of your little observations you might have made through over the years.
That's a really good question. Let me ponder that just a second. I think that there are a lot of changes that have taken place in the industry, the rodeo queen industry, and I think that some of the changes are good and positive, and some of the changes are not really doing the industry any favor. This kind of caught me off guard. I think that what I would probably say, because you and I have talked about this, that's probably where this question is coming from.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that one thing that has changed is how the young women view rodeo queen competitions. I think that's where it starts, because back in my day, back in 1980 when we competed, it was an honor to compete for that, and you wanted to be Miss Rodeo Kansas just because you could be Miss Rodeo Kansas, and motivation is different. We didn't, in our state pageant, we didn't get scholarships. I mean, I walked away with a saddle and a crown and a few prizes, and that was it.
Yep.
But today, I think that young women are smarter. I think they understand making sure that you get a good return on your investment. Every single business seminar I teach about the importance of getting a good return on your investment. So I think today, young women are more tuned into, look, if I invest the time and I invest the money to do this,
Mm-hmm.
what am I getting in return? And this is one of the things that we talk about at our workshops every single time, is the benefits of competing in rodeo queen pageants, even if you don't win.
Mm-hmm.
And we spend a lot of time talking about that, because I think that young women today need to know what's the return on the investment. And I think it's a fair question.
Yeah.
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that I think is different and has changed. Another thing that I think has changed is, which is natural, is that the more sponsors you have involved in the pageant world, the more it changes the dynamics of the pageant, because sponsors donate a tremendous amount of money and prizes and gifts and whatever. And let's face it, today the pageants couldn't survive without sponsors. I mean, can we agree on that?
Yes, very much so. Sponsors are crucial to not only big competitions, but also local competitions as well.
Absolutely, even local sponsors. But I think that because there are more sponsors involved, it has changed the dynamics of how the pageants, are run and how the girls are judged and selected. And I think it has created confusion for a lot of young women and their parents, who do not understand the necessity of making sure that you are doing sponsor recognition, and that you are doing branding, and that you are doing those things. And with social media and social media marketing today, that has changed the way the industry gets promoted.
Yeah.
So girls today have to come at this with a whole different level of knowledge. It's not just about being able to ride anymore. And I have to answer this question on a weekly basis. And the question I get from parents and from girls is, this is a rodeo queen pageant. You should be able to ride, and that should be the most important thing. And you know what? You're right. It is a rodeo queen pageant, and horsemanship is a really important aspect. In fact, it's the talent division of a rodeo queen pageant.
Yes.
However, by today's standards, when a young woman wins, especially a state or national level, she becomes a professional spokesperson, a public relations person.
Yes.
So she has to be able to eloquently speak off the cuff, have a microphone stuck in her face and be able to cover if something happens, be able to laugh at herself on live interviews,
Yes.
be able to shout out to the sponsors off the cuff. I just think it requires a different knowledge level, and public speaking and being able to be poised under pressure is a much more critical aspect today than maybe it was back 3 and 4 decades ago. So that dynamic has changed. I think the other thing this is a really long answer, so everybody just hang on, because I'm trying to answer the question. I think the other thing that has possibly changed is, and this is purely my opinion and purely my observation, but I do what I do through Queens and Jeans for the girls. And,
yes,
everything I do is to help the girls. I started Queens and Jeans Facebook page as a free portal for young women to come and get information. And I know you've talked about how important that was to you.
Yes. It has been super important for me, especially in the beginning, because I know talking to you one-on-one, telling you that when I first got started in rodeo queening, 10 years ago, it's not that, it seems that long ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. The rodeo queen world was so hush-hush, even back then, that unless you knew the right people, you knew how to do certain things, you didn't tell your secrets. You didn't tell people how you did your hair and got it to look perfect. You didn't tell people where to go get clothes done. They had to figure out who you were wearing. And it was this whole secretive side to rodeo queening. And especially the past few years, it's gotten a little bit better. But I know when I got started, it was so hard to find the information you needed. And your resource of Queens and Jeans was one of the places I was able to go to start finding the information I needed at a beginner's level, and to slowly advance and get the knowledge base that I needed to get where I am today. So that free knowledge resource, people underestimate all the time, and they fly over it. They don't think it's something that they need to spend their time on, but it's a free resource. Knowledge being given to you for free. Take it. You can
and that
knowledge.
Right, and that was the whole reason why I started the Queens and Jeans Facebook, was to provide free information. And I wanted to provide free information that had been researched, that had been documented, that I was interviewing experts in their field, not opinions, not another opinion, not 52 people's opinions on something, because everybody, opinions are like noses. Everybody has one and they're different.
Yep.
I wanted to really do research and provide valid information. And so I started the Queens and Jeans page. It was never my intent to end up doing workshops again or to end up coaching girls again. That was not my intent when I started this. But I kept getting phone calls, and Danette Griffith, the Miss Radio New York director, won a contest that I did. And when I, offered to coach somebody, she called me and said, would you be willing to come and do a clinic for our state? Because we really, really need help promoting and training girls up here. They don't know what to do. And so I kept getting more and more and more of those calls. And so y'all can blame Danette Griffith for getting this whole workshop thing started, because
we're so glad.
Yeah, it wasn't my intent. But, I think that as much as I spend working to help the girls, and even today when I do workshops, as you well know, I donate a chunk of the proceeds back to the organization that brings us in to do the workshop. Because, and not only that, the contract states and stipulates that the organization has to earmark the money that I donate to the girls. So it has to go to prizes or scholarships or something, or clothes for the girl, for the winner. And so for me, it's all about the girls. Now, there are a lot of organizations and a lot of people in the industry today who still get that. They still understand that it's about the girls.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I'm finding that there are more and more organizations or people who are missing that point. They have either forgotten it, or they're new to the industry and they have made it all about the money or the politics or whatever. And some people tend to forget that it should be about the girls. I mean, you watch Miss America, the Miss America committee raises all the sponsorships. The Miss America committee provides all the clothing. They provide housing. They provide all of that for their winner. You look at the state pageants that lead up to Miss USA or Miss America, and those state committees are out doing the fundraising, and they're out there getting the prizes and whatever. And for some reason in the rodeo queen world, the girls have to go do all of that for their own, for their own clothes, for their own vehicle to drive if they want one, whatever. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying, I think that's very different.
Yes. And
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I live in a state, fortunately, our committee does extremely well fundraising. I am blessed to be in Texas and have a huge committee and huge sponsors that back us. I mean, what we get as a prize package is absolutely amazing. And all of that goes back to Marjorie Murphy and the rodeo committee for going out and finding those sponsors and those people who promoted our rodeo queen pageant, essentially. And without them, Texas wouldn't be exactly what it is today. But I'm so blessed, the state I'm in.
And it's true. And I mean, even back in 1980, the joke used to be, why would you want to be Miss Rodeo America when you could be Miss Rodeo Texas? I mean, we joked about that because back then, the Miss Rodeo America program wasn't where it is today. They didn't even have sometimes the same scholarships that Texas was giving to their state winners. And I'm not saying that happened all the time. I'm just saying that was sort of the joke, 30 years ago. And Texas has always been one of those states, among others, that understands that the pageant committee is responsible for bringing in donations and scholarships and prizes. If the girls needed to go earn all their own scholarships, they don't need to enter a pageant to do that.
Yes.
They don't. And so I always try to encourage committees. It's like, look, if you want more girls to participate, you have to give it a good return on their investment.
Yes.
Because today they are weighing out the investment versus the benefit versus the return on investment. And so that means that committees cannot, whether it's local or state or regional or whatever, you can't show up a week before the pageant, have a pageant, and then disappear for 10 or 11 months and expect girls to want to come and participate in your program.
Exactly.
They'll go elsewhere because they don't need to. They quite frankly don't need to.
Yes.
So I encourage pageant committees all the time, no matter what level you're at, please remember, this is supposed to be about girls having opportunities to be educated and having opportunities to earn scholarships.
Yes.
And if it's not about that, then we're missing the boat somewhere. And we just have to come to the table. So again, this is why I give money back to the states who bring me in. You know, Miss Rodeo Iowa, Miss Rodeo Washington, Miss Rodeo Kentucky, Miss Rodeo Missouri have all had us come in. Washington has had us come in 3 or 4 times now. We're going again in May, and we're going back again in September, and partnering with Miss Kitsap Fair and Stampede and Miss Rodeo Washington. But we give money back to those organizations so that they can build scholarship funds and prize funds and travel funds, etc. It's really disheartening to me sometimes, Chanel, that I work with states, sometimes over here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
These girls don't even have a budget. I mean, I will try to help girls, and I'll say, so what is your budget for clothing for America? $2,000. Okay, that's barely going to buy, 4 hats.
Yeah,
and boots. And so I just, I always jokingly say, if I could get up off the floor, I would get down on the floor on my hands and knees and beg committee members and committees to understand that these girls are coming to participate, to get scholarships and to get education and to get advancement. And they count on you to bring that to the table. They shouldn't have to do that.
Yes, and I can say firsthand experience as a rodeo queen that's been doing this as long as I have. The only reason I really got into it, and the only reason I have stuck in it, other than this being a passion and a career avenue that I want to pursue after rodeo queening, is scholarships. I mean, I have been blessed with many, many scholarships through this avenue of rodeo queening, and that's what keeps bringing me back, is the chance that my college will be completely paid for. I will be debt-free when I'm completely done with rodeo queening and done with my degree. That, to me, that weighs so much more than a few prizes I could win.
Right.
The scholarship.
I think so.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The scholarship is my big issue and my big drive, because I come from a low-income family. I need the help to make sure I have a college degree, to make sure I can get that education. It's paid for, and I don't have to go into debt when I'm done with school.
That's right.
To be honest,
and
everybody now.
Right, and the Miss Rodeo, if you're fortunate enough to win Miss Rodeo Texas, they provide you with an apartment for the year. They provide you with a vehicle, don't they?
I think they're working on that. I don't think that's definite yet, but it's definitely been in the works, and they're trying to put sponsorship for that.
And they have a whole wardrobe that they put together that girls can start and pull from to wear.
Yep, they do that. So they've actually started a clothing allowance now, which is amazing. That helps out to buy your chaps, to do your nails through the year, any of that. I mean, the Miss Rodeo Texas committee knows what it takes, and I mean, I hate to say that we're always up there, up the top 10 and up on the higher ranking, but it's because they push us, they drive us, they know what we need to do and where we need to be to reach that higher level. If we want to be Miss Rodeo America like Lisa Lagashar, they know how to push us. They know how to help us find the fundraising to get our clothes in line, to make sure we're ready, to make sure that we're taken care of for the year. And I mean, we're theirs. We are Miss Rodeo for the year, and in return, we have a great return for our investment for being Miss Rodeo Texas for a year.
Absolutely. And there are other states in the program who do that as well. They do things like that as well. But unfortunately, it's not all of them. Yes. And, the East Coast kind of suffers in that department. And so this is the reason why I started Queens and Jeans, was to offer a helping hand to girls from states that might not have a committee that's that established yet, or a
Yes.
program that is established yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I started the boutique for the same reason. We have the Queens and Jeans boutique now.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to find things that girls can start with to get a starting wardrobe at a reasonable price, jewelry and clothing and everything else, because I want these girls who don't have that access to have opportunities as well. And so that's what I think has changed. That's what I hope we remember. Let's make it about the girls. It's not about money and politics. It shouldn't be. It should be about helping girls and not making them have to pay, let me cut off an arm and a leg and give that to you so that I can have this opportunity. It shouldn't be that way. Yeah.
It definitely shouldn't. And hopefully with our conversation, it might start picking up a little. Or maybe.
Or, yeah, so we'll see. I mean, that's just my opinion, and I'm sure other people have other opinions, but that's fine. You asked my opinion, so.
You're good.
So what's next?
So getting back on track.
Okay.
So working as a rodeo queen and now coming into your skill path and being a corporate trainer, are there skills that you learned from your time as a rodeo queen that you use in your job today that you use on a regular basis?
Yes, absolutely. And I get asked this question a lot. And I will tell you that the most important thing that I learned from being Miss Rodeo Kansas was to have the confidence to pursue things. When I won Miss Rodeo Kansas, I got to tell you, girl, I was faking it till I made it, because
Don't we all?
I was so insecure and I was so unconfident back then. And I really just had to put on my fake it face and go do it. And I think by the end of the year, I certainly wasn't where I am today, but I was certainly better off than where I started. And I think that that's what I took away from being Miss Rodeo Kansas, is getting out there and experiencing things and doing interviews and being on TV and working with stars and, going to the rodeo and being the representative. And it was just such a massive learning opportunity that taught me what I wanted to do for a living. I know that there are things that I have done in my speaking career that are duplicates of what I did when I was Miss Rodeo Kansas to get sponsors. And when you get turned down, I mean, I went to the biggest radio station in Wichita, Kansas when I was competing for Miss Rodeo Kansas and asked them to sponsor me. And their answer was a loving and resounding no. And I went back a second time and they again said no. And I went back a third time and they said no. And I kind of walked away from that and thought, okay, they're saying no because I'm not offering and asking for the right thing.
Yeah.
And so I sat down and thought about it, and I went back to them, and by now they're just laughing at me every time I walk through the door, And I met with the CEO of KFDI Radio, and I said, listen, I've got a different proposition for you. He said, all right, let me have it. And I said, I don't want any money. I don't want any prizes. I don't want anything. I just want you to sponsor me in name. Just let me put on my application that I'm being sponsored by KFDI Radio. And in return, if I am fortunate enough to win Miss Rodeo Kansas, I will make appearances for you all year long. I will go to all of your events. I'll be a representative there for you. And I will ask you if you would pay for my ad in the Miss Rodeo America program. And surprisingly enough, they agreed to that. And so, you learn how to negotiate. You learn how to go get what you want. You can't sit around and wait. Girls, if you want a truck for the year, go figure out and talk to dealerships on how to get it done. And, you can't sometimes wait. Committees, you should be involved in that. I just said that. But girls, if you have a committee that's not involved, go do it anyway. And get what you want. And I had to do the exact same thing in my speaking career. I told you I was turned down by the first company, and I went back. Interesting enough, the company that turned me down 20 years ago was Skill Path Seminars, who I now am a trainer for, and I get asked to train their trainers every year. Isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So coming back around, the big final question I would say that every Life After Queening interviewee gets to answer is, Do you feel that your time as a rodeo queen has helped you to become successful for life after queening?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I knew when I was done being Miss Radio Kansas what I wanted to do. I wanted to either be in advertising or media or, modeling or something. And so I just made it happen. I just made it happen. And as a result of that, I have learned a great deal. I have become an international speaker and trainer,
Mhm.
and I am now an author. I have written a best-selling book, uh, here's my shameless plug, Finding Your Moxie, Myths and Lies That Successful Women Kick to the
Mhm.
Curb. And the book went #1 on Amazon in Women in Business in the first 10 days it hit.
Mhm.
And I'm blessed. And I talk about a lot of the struggles and things I learned from being Miss
Mhm.
Rodeo Kansas, and how to overcome those things and have moxie and grit and guts and determination and fortitude. And so now I get to train, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. I mean, I've trained at the DEA in Washington. I've trained at the Department of Homeland Security. I've trained Avon Corporate in Australia. I've trained Universal Studios. I mean, I've trained at so many organizations, I can't even keep track of them anymore.
Mhm.
Big name, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies. And it's interesting. The one thing that I tell those companies every single time I walk in the door when we talk about strategic thinking is this: if an organization isn't changing, it's dying.
Mhm.
Holds true in the rodeo queen industry. It holds true in any business where people are collecting money for anything, whether it's profit or nonprofit. If the organization isn't changing and growing, it's dying. And girls, this holds true for you. If you're not changing, then your opportunities are dying. And so you have to grow and learn and listen and watch and take in everything you can take in. And that's why we offer videos and interviews with national title holders. Yes, I
Mhm.
understand the interviews are long, but you know what? You're sitting in the car for 3 hours driving to a rodeo anyway. Make it Four-Wheel University and learn something.
Yep. And I mean, the stuff that we cover, whether it's in hair and makeup tutorials or national title holders, or even here at Life After Queening, everybody that we interview and bring on here brings different ideas, different tips, suggestions, and advice. You don't have to take it, but it's something worth trying to see if it works for you. There's
Right.
not one way to do your hair. There's not one way to do
No.
your makeup. You have to
Nope.
pick and choose things from different people, different thoughts, different ideas to what works for you. And I mean, I feel like we're bringing so many new ideas, tips, and tricks to the table because we're interviewing the national title holders. We're getting an inside scoop on what they're doing to work for them. So you get those
And
great tips right
right.
from the horse's mouth from them.
Right, and posting it for free. You
Yes,
have free access to it on
great.
the Queen. So, I tell people today, there is no excuse for you not knowing.
Yes, exactly.
There's no excuse anymore. It's all out here on the Facebook page for free.
Yep, it's on Facebook. I'm sure you can Google things. I mean, Google's amazing. Who doesn't want to
Yep,
Google answers?
yep, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so that's my answer.
Yes. Well, we're throwing out so many great videos all the time. Be sure to watch them. Be sure to tune in. I'm sure we can always take suggestions if you have any that you'd like to see. I'm sure we'd love to get those from you. And Debra, it has been an absolute blessing finally having you down on this interview and getting you locked in to do this. So
Well,
excited.
thank you for your moxie and sticking with it and making me do it. So I'm glad that you felt that strong about it. And I want to take this opportunity to let everyone know how effective you have been as our intern this year. You have done great work. You've really learned a lot. You're growing, but more importantly, you're getting college credit for this.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, I
for
am. I
doing
am
this.
college credit, which is
Yeah,
exciting. I have
it
projects.
is exciting. That's way exciting. So if anybody is interested in doing college scholarships with Queens and Jeans, let us know because we're willing to help you in that regard as well. So
Yep.
thank you for having me.
I get 3 college credits to clarify in the air on this. I have 3 college credits for this work that I'm doing with Queens and Jeans through a class, and it is going towards my internship part of my college degree that I have to have. And it also gives
Yep.
me a foot in the door to say I already have that experience. I'm already doing interviews. I'm already doing social media marketing. So to have that on my resume for people to actually go view and see, they could pull up Queens and Jeans and be able to see what I'm doing and how I've grown, how I've changed.
Yep.
So to have this opportunity to be Debra's intern has been phenomenal, and I love doing it, and it's so exciting. But if anyone's ever interested in being an intern, I'm sure Debra would love having more interns around.
Bring it on.
Either one of us could answer any of your questions on being an intern. If you want a little advice from me or to kind of understand what I do other than life after queening videos, you can always message me. I would love to help and give you advice and kind of tell you what I do a little bit more behind the scenes. But as always, this has been a life after queening video, and we have had our founder and awesome Debra Fox with us today. We hope everybody's enjoyed this video. Couple of highlights. If you haven't already, go check out the Instagram page. Shelby Chapman does an amazing job on our social media marketing for Instagram. Go check that out and be sure to follow it. Also, we are having two more workshops, as Debra mentioned, both in Washington. One's coming up in May and one will be in September. If you haven't made it to one, be sure to go check those out. Your time for this year is starting to run out. And then also, as Debra mentioned, our Queens and Jeans boutique, there's awesome queen starter and higher level clothes available all the time. I'm sure if you need something in particular, Debra, you could probably help people out with that.
I can.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Well, this has been Chanel Wagner giving you a life after queening video. We hope to see you next time. But until then, if you can believe it, you can achieve it, and you can dream it, you can believe it, you can achieve it. There we go.
There you go. Very good.
Bye, guys.
Bye.